been born, and so it was sort of the classic not a good time, right? And I have to give a lot of credit to my wife, because in having these conversations, she made the astute point. She said, okay, well, first of all, when is a good time? Like, what would be a good time when the kids are 5 and 3, when they're 13 and 10? What does that look like? Like, when does it become a good time? And then also she said, let's just play a little game, and I want you to tell me, if you were going to take a new job, right, what would it have to fulfill? Like, what things for you would it have to satisfy? And I said, okay, it'd have to be local, because we're here and we like it here and we've got family here. And it would have to be an organization that's on good footing and that's foundationally strong. And it would have to be, in this kind of work. I've been, Montpelier to United Way to here. The nonprofit thing is sort of become a place where I feel very fulfilled. And she said, okay, well, how many of these does that job serve? And I said, okay, well, it's all of them, and then she said, look, there's never going to be a good time. So on we went. And so
sounds like a smart lady.
That's why I married her. And so in thinking about, as you start to investigate, as you guys know, organizations, you do kind of the general due diligence. You look at the website, you read the reports to talk to people, you read the 990 and all that typical academic stuff they tell you to do to discern the health of the organization. But I'll tell you, the one that did it for me was a day, and it was probably right after I'd been hired in May, and we were walking through 10th and Page and through Hardy Drive with like a cooler of popsicles. And what you saw every single person in that neighborhood aged 3 to 90 and the way they interacted with the staff. And all of a sudden you saw that the staff knew everyone by name. They knew something about everybody, kid, adult, teenage, like every single person there. And all of a sudden what clicked was, oh, that's the thing you can't replicate. Like, that's the thing you can't. There's no business class. There's no strategic plan. Like, you cannot fabricate that connection, right? A connection to a community of people who have really no reason to buy in, because it's just barrier after barrier after barrier, right? Interacting with a group of people who have proven to them that they'll meet you where you are and help you get to where you want to go, right? And that takes years to build, right? And so if you have that, you can program around anything, right? We can come up with a program. The three of us could sit here in an hour and be like, okay, we can figure out a program that we think will move the needle. But what you can't recreate is that. You can't recreate that level of ingenuity, that level of intimacy with a nonprofit, right? And so that was the thing that, I was kind of had that moment. I was like, all right, we'll be all right. Like, we'll be all right, because we can lean into that, right? And when we have to be very committed to preserving that. And then programmatically, everything you build is a spoke off of that hub, right? Everything you build, now you have the ability for the community to either buy in or to give you feedback, to say, look, this doesn't work, and we have to accept that, right? And we can rock with that. So it was that point, sort of early in that process where I felt like we had something unique and we had something different and something that we could really build on. And so then programmatically, our focus again is child-centered. It's dual generation, but it is really about creating opportunities for our youngest and understanding their path forward, right? With the understanding that they're, they will be us someday. And what we want to do is really have an opportunity to influence them when they're young and influence again, but their entire family, right? It has to be, built on that family unit and built on whoever their caregivers are, like we talked about off air, of buying in and really wanting to be involved with us. I think I view us as co-pilots, right? Like I'll tell you when to turn left if you need it. I'll buy snacks and sing along, but you got to drive. And we want our community members to drive. And sometimes we need to be there to help and steer and show sometimes, but ultimately, you're driving. And you're going to get to where you drive us to.
Well, I must say, like, you sound real good, Price. Like, everything that it sounds like you bring to the leadership of City of Promise sounds great. Now, I met you once, probably before today. Maybe we shared the same space before, but I recollect at least one instance where we've met. And then later learned of you being a new hire at City of Promise, and then heard some chatter about whether or not you were a good fit for the position. I don't know you, so there was no judgment there, but whether or not you were a good fit for the position based upon your ability to relate to the people that you were providing a service for. Sounds like you may have heard the same thing.
Of course.
but you sound spot on.
Yeah,
You
well-
sound like exactly what the organization needs.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's not. Look, I think my posture is sort of unshy in that sense.
Mhm.
I know what I am, I know what I'm not,
Mhm.
and that's why I married the person I married,
Mhm.
and that's why I think even organizationally, we're not afraid to say, look, this isn't what we specialize in,
Mhm.
but there's someone here that does.
Mhm.
And so from a relatability standpoint, I'm not going to profess or pretend to be something that I'm not. And what I have to do is open a dialogue among myself and the community members to say, where are my blind spots? And what are
Mhm.
things that I don't know that I need you to tell me?
Mhm.
But I need you to afford me that same respect. And there's
Mhm.
some stuff that I know, and that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
And we can move this thing forward together.
Right.
And
That's where
and-
the team comes in too.
and that's
Having a
absolutely
strong
right.
team.
Absolutely right. And that's why I talk about us as passengers in a sense of I'm not going to be dictatorial and like I've solved the problems. Because again, if I could solve them, they would have been solved.
Mhm.
Right. So
Mhm.
it requires this consortium of saying, look, there is lived experience that we have to be reverent to. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have to intake that, and then we have to try and coordinate that in a way that then we can create output
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
successful. And I mean that in every sense of the word. And I think that's one part of being the place-based piece, but part of the fact that we're there and that
Mhm.
we're there, and that's why the office is there, and that's why we occupy that office, is to have that level of intimacy with the community. And my hope is to create, if at the end of the day, if we've done nothing else, it's we've created an environment where that goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
when we have to have hard conversations, in either direction, we understand that it's coming from a place that we're facing the same direction.
Right.
We're all trying to go to the same
Right.
spot, and either, you stepped out of line, I was out of pocket, whatever, but we understand that fundamentally we're not adversaries,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And we've created that trust and we've built that respect so that in the moments that are inevitable, when there is a difference of opinion,
Yeah.
it's from a point of view of like we're all trying to hustle out
Yeah.
out the same ends, and we're moving in the right direction. But that's something that I think, like I said, programmatically
Mhm.
aside, right, we have to understand that we're people and we're working with people,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we have to be intelligent about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me maybe close it. We have a couple minutes left, but like with a serious question that just me knowing you, I'm sure like that you thought about this. You may have already encountered it, but as a director, what do you say to the family, the parent, the child, like that comes to you and says, Price, I respect and understand programs, the pathways, like strategically it all makes sense, but we struggling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like my boy making money on the
Mhm.
corner right now.
Yep.
But you telling me all these, good, wholesome ways to grow and how to get out of my situation.
Yep.
What do you say for families to keep trust in the program when they're face to face with experiences like that?
Yeah, I love that. And I wholeheartedly believe that we have to figure out a way as a community and as an organization to address short-term needs in the pursuit of this longer-term goal of,
Mhm.
of self-sufficiency. I feel like we always do one or the other well. We're either full triage, we have this to triage us now, or we're in the we're going to fix your credit score,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And exactly like you said, if you come to me with a need today, and
Mhm.
I'm like, well, here's what we need to talk about is your FICO score.
Mhm.
You're just going to, at best,
Mhm.
walk out.
Right.
At best, just turn around and leave, right? So
Mhm.
we have to keep folks in the game to say, like, here's how we view the forest in the trees. Here's how we view how the short term interacts with our longer term goals.
Mm.
And we also have to be a little bit brutal in a sense that there are some people who do not want what we're doing.
Mhm.
And there are some people, even in community, who just aren't ready or don't want to accept what we have. And that's okay. And that doesn't mean we go away, and it doesn't mean we shut that door. It means we continue to invest in those who are there, who are ready, and we continue to try and pull in as many people as we can. For me, this theory of change is kind of, again, small bites, 1, 2, 3 at a time, right? It's not
Yep.
just kind of you drop a net and the whole thing flips. It's we
Mhm.
have to start to work in the with the folks who will be advocates for us, with the folks who are ready to work with us, and continue to invest in them, but while also keep an eye on what else is going on in the ways, and I want to be very clear about this, in the ways where we feel like we have competency.
Mhm.
Right.
In those other spots that we're not great at, we need to find who those partners are. We need to
Mhm.
find who those resources are. And we need to connect to them in a way that not only makes sense institutionally, but makes sense for the community. So it's clear to people like, oh, I have this need, I go here.
Mhm.
Oh, I have this need, I can go here. And this is how this all levels up to me ultimately being able to achieve my goals. I think you said something interesting of like, whatever your goals are yours.
Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
so I think part of the trust building for me is not self-imposing, like, you got to move to Ivy,
Mhm.
right? It's like, well, you can do whatever it is you want to do, and I
Mhm.
want you to tell me what it is you want,
Mhm.
and I want to challenge the upper end of that to a degree, and say, well,
Mhm.
have you thought about this? And you
Mhm.
can say, like, no, man, my thing is ABC, and then that's where we start.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we have an opportunity, and a really unique opportunity, to be a little more nuanced and a little more kind of individualized in how we help some of our community members,
Mhm.
because we can't take it as a monolith. We can't say, well, just everyone needs the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Because again, the inputs are different, the family structures are different,
Mhm.
some of the trauma is different,
Yeah.
you know, and so we have to be responsive to that. And this all comes back to the fact that I think if we can be responsive to that in smaller numbers, we can prove that we can make something sustainable,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then it's a resource, it's a resource conversation, and it's something that we all need to get in on. But you know, I want people to feel like when they're part of City of Promise, and when they talk to us and talk to our staff, that like, we know you, we know what you're up
Mhm.
against, and we know what
Mhm.
you're fighting with, and I expect that level of honesty from our community members, and we'll absolutely give it back, and hopefully in a way that becomes additive, in a way that again feels like we're moving together.
Right.
I don't want to feel like I'm pushing you anywhere. I want to feel like we're going there together.
You had mentioned the Sam Sanders, Charlottesville's city
Yeah,
manager
that guy's
earlier.
job. Good.
Do
Oh
you
my
feel like
gosh.
you're getting the support that the organization, or maybe even you, are getting the support that you need to get the job done, meet your goals, or is there something that more that the city could be doing to help support?
I don't think any nonprofit on earth is going to answer that. Like, I got everything I need. You know, I mean, we're in the game of saying, yeah, we need more, and we need more resources, and we need more dollars, and we need more infrastructure, and all of the things. But I'm very willing to, you know, especially since we got in at about the same time, and so you know, I'm willing to adjudicate his success and mine on progress. You know,
Okay.
I'm a growth guy in the proficiency growth conversation. You know, I want to see that.
Metrics.
I want to see that tomorrow's better than today, and that you know, I want to be better on Tuesday morning than I was on Monday. And so I think that as we continue to stay tight, and you know, I think the big measure of success for us, you know, as it pertains to the city, is our level of connectivity. Is, are we shopping things together, right? Is he calling me about ABC XYZ? Am I able to reach him about things that we need to work on and that we need to do? I think part of evaluating the success of some of this nonprofit space is going to be the metric stuff, which we are all beholden to, but I think it's also going to be a little bit qualitative. Are we working better together?
Yeah.
Are there more grants or programs or initiatives that are of multiple nonprofits, right? Is there better collaboration between like-minded, mission-aligned organizations, right? Because currently it doesn't really exist in any real systematized way. And there is a push for it. And so I think it's breaking down some of that siloed activity. I think it's breaking down some ego stuff, right? And some territory stuff. And I think it's
all true.
Being very honest about really which seems simple, is that we can do more if we do it better together. You know, and
there's a novel idea.
Yeah, right. You know, and it almost sounds like it's one of those things that like this, it can't be that obvious, right? Like coming out and like it can't, right? But it exists. It really does, because you do something different than I do, and does something different than he does. But by our powers combined, we've got something pretty neat and something pretty interesting and impactful. And so, trying to allow all the nonprofit leaders to take a step back, you know, and have that conversation, right? Kind of look across the landscape and say, okay, oh wow, yeah, that's right. Because you know what would strengthen my program? Like a food security partnership. You know what else would strengthen my program? A workforce development part, right? Why, like we need to do that. And we as a group of nonprofit, you know, leaders need to do that, and do that more often. We need a better finger on the pulse of what else is going on, because we're all sharing. I mean, Charleston's not that big. Right. And so in the fact that it's 9 miles end to end or whatever. And so we're sharing community members anyway. We're just not doing it efficiently, and we're clearly not doing it very well.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's definitely stay in touch on that, because I got conversation follow up on that, exactly on, you know, on ways that could benefit you and hopefully the other organizations, you know, that we know of in town.
Of course.
For sure. You're spot on with that. But before we let you go, though, let the folks know whether they're donor or potential volunteer, or I don't know if you all are hiring or will be soon, but let folks know how to get in touch with you to get involved. Because I'm sure they like what you said, man. You're a sharp brother right here.
At cityofpromise.org is our site with all the information you need. Make sure you check us out on social media at City of Promise, and that will be full of video, full of great content. We're gonna make sure the community comes to life, and we're gonna give our community members opportunities to tell their stories, to speak their truth, to to be a part of the front door of the organization, right? These
Mhm.
are some of the most, incredible and joyful and hardworking folks, and we want them to make sure that they have a seat at the table. And so at City of Promise will be your front door for all that. We're very excited to, pioneer some content initiatives, and we're in talks with all kinds of interesting folks, including, you guys and Charlottesville Tomorrow and the University of Virginia. And I mean, there's so much out there that we want to pull in and pull together and lean on. And we are in an area that, again, is resource rich from a dollar standpoint, but also from an intellect and infrastructure standpoint. And
Mhm.
we are not going to be naive enough to not lean into that.
Gotcha.
And also, look, we're at 708 Page Street, so
Mhm.
we're easy to find. Our office is there in the historic West Haven neighborhood, and that's where we operate out of. And we are. It's a wonderful place to be, and I think a place that the staff feels very strongly about, and that level of place-based model, I think has been good, and one that I think is being slowly replicated in other spots when you think about what's going on in Kindlewood and
Mhm.
Abundant Life
Yep.
and
Mhm.
Prospect, and there is,
Trailblazer.
again, opportunities to link these organizations together to say, okay, is there a way to program, and again, Charlottesville not being big, but there is something to being in these spaces that we want to be in, and that we feel like we should ultimately have the community be in charge of.
Mhm.
And I think it's our job to continue to encourage that,
Yeah,
and continue to be a catalyst for that, to say that, look, we are here to facilitate.
Yeah.
We're not here to take over. We're not here to run the show. We're here to be a part of it.
That's
You know,
awesome.
and
man.
then we're here to be a part of the uplift of these communities, and allowing people to achieve their goals, and ultimately see these young people flourish.
right.
That's what it's about.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Price Thomas, Executive Director, City of Promise. And these lines of communication are always open for you.
Absolutely.
And on air and off air. Let's definitely get to work
Oh
together.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Miss Max,
No,
you good?
that was a great interview. Thank you. for
Thank
sharing
you.
time
Thank
with
you
us today.
guys. Yeah, appreciate it.